Okay, we had beauty, so now we're going to go to the beast portion of our program.
No. Oh, no.
I met Dennis Hof a year ago. Of course, I've known of Dennis Hof for a long time, as I'm sure a lot of you probably have too, because Nevada is the only state in the country that has legalized prostitution. Dennis is a celebrity, a reality TV show celebrity. It was
Cat House on HBO.
Cat House on HBO. Was on for a long time.
14 years and is still in 67 countries in 29 languages.
Wow, unbelievable. Who knew sex could be that popular?
I know, another shocker.
So a year ago, Dennis decided that things weren't going so well in Nevada and that our elected representatives were letting us down, especially in approving that commerce tax. And he decided it was time to do something about it. So he was a registered libertarian, which would probably not be a surprise to folks who understand the difference between libertarian and conservative, and ran as a libertarian, did not win in the general election, but got 46% in his home county in Nye County as a third-party libertarian against the incumbent, James Oscarson. So he did very well. And Oscarson is, by the way, one of the assemblymen who voted for the largest tax increase in Nevada history. So we need to take that. Oh, wait, I'm not allowed to say that. I forgot.
Absolutely.
Okay, I can't say that. But Oscarson's a bad guy. Let's go that far. Now, after the November election in December, and by the way, just out of disclosure, I work for Dennis. I'm a paid consultant to him. But in December, Dennis decided that he was going to change parties and become a Republican and run again this year in the Republican primary against James Oscarson. So, Dennis, we're just going to have a conversation. I mean, what do you want to talk about?
I want to have some. First of all, you know, this is not the Nevada brothel management course that you all were expecting. Now, I know Roger Stone's here, and I'm hoping he listens to what we say if you ask me questions about the brothel, because if he ever wants to get out of politics and get in business in Nevada, that would be perfect segue. Yeah. So, yeah, just a couple things with what Chuck said. Number one, I was an independent all my life. Raised World War II parents, Italian mother, German father, and they raised me to be conservative. As a businessman, I wanted to be independent because I want everybody's money. I want everybody coming through the door, and I don't want them to judge me. I went to the Republican Party and said, I want to run, and I want to join the party, and it was too late for me to do that. We'd already missed the deadline, so they said, register as a libertarian, we will work with our candidate, and if not, we'll support you. So that's how I hooked up with Chuck. You know, I was complaining about this commerce tax, and I know one of my friends back here, Ron Connect, who's fighting that commerce tax, and he's a great guy, and if you live in Nevada, support him, please. The commerce tax, when they wanted to put through a margins tax, and the margins tax, voted on it, 80% of Nevada said no, so our governor, which I consider a Democrat, at least a rhino, he painted it another color, spun it around, put some fake benefits on it, like the money's for the kids. Well, the kids in the rural counties don't get any of that money, and got a bunch of his cohorts to be rhinos and put it through. So that's why I'm in the politics business. You know, Tucker Carlson is my good friend, as Roger knows. I was complaining to Tucker about it. He said, well, Dennis, you got to do something about it. You got to get in the business. It's the last thing I ever thought I would do is get into politics, but I'm in it to win it now, and I'm going to do the job. And what I found is that it's the dirtiest business venture I've ever been involved in. 42 years in Nevada. Gas stations, truck stops, restaurants, convenience stores, towing company, garages, brothels, you name it. I've owned it. It's the dirtiest business venture there is, and it's disgusting, which gives me more resolve to get in the business and try to fix these guys. I said at the Republican meeting last week, I'm the rhino hunter, and we've ordered a big safari outfit and the big gun, and it's going to be Dennis Hof, Republican Billboards Rhino Hunter. Fire the rhino, save the rhinoceros, okay? And I just mean it. I mean, it's terrible. And I talk to Tucker every day. We go back and forth. We text, and I'm his West Coast producer, if you will, because he knows I get it and I get the tone of what's going on, and we're just that close of friends. So it's shocking what's going on. And I think one of the bigger problems is the fellow Republicans who are just out to get this guy. And I don't know whether you like Steve Bannon or not, but I think he nailed it in his recent interview about the insiders against him. And so we've got to support him. So a little bit about me. You all probably know me because of the brothels. I do have a TV show on HBO, 14 years. It's all over the world. I was fortunate enough to do that. Judith Regan, the great book publisher, did my book. I'm very proud of it. I've been on every Fox show you can imagine, but I go also to the Today Show, Good Morning America, 2020 Nightline. I do it all. And most recently, we did a piece with ABC Nightline, and it was Hookers for Healthcare. And it's shining the flashlight on how silly the system is. And the big thing that I don't like about it is this: as a new Republican, as being an independent all my life, you had 7.5 years. Why weren't you in lockstep the day Donald Trump got elected? And I don't like that. I don't like it at all, and I don't understand it. But I'll tell you what I do know is there's 4 lobbyists for everybody in Washington. Every House of Representatives, every senator, there's 4 lobbyists in a medical and in the prescription business that are talking to these guys and whining and dining them, and who knows what else they're doing. But that's where the holdup is. And I think it's just a mess. It's just an absolute mess. And I think as Republicans, we need to demand more from our politicians. It's either get on it and do it and support Donald Trump, or get the hell out of here and move over and let us go forward. Yeah, another friend of mine was out at the Nye County meeting I just came from, the Nye County Republicans who are supporting me, and excommunicated the person I'm running against. Starvos Anthony, great guy, ex-policeman, 29 years in Las Vegas, and a good man. And I think he said it best today is, look, Donald Trump is supporting the military, he's supporting the police, he's doing all the things that Obama didn't do, and we need to support him. And these politicians got to go away. If they don't like it, go away. Just go away. And that's my take on this whole thing. And I'm real black and white. I'm a businessman, and it either it doesn't make sense or it doesn't make sense. And so I'm going to do everything I can to change things in Nevada, and one voter at a time. And I do have a voice. I have a media voice because I do a lot of media. I mean, I've done every TV show you can name. I've done it. I know who to reach out to, and I'm going to start shining the flashlight on some of these people the best I can with the resources that I have. Yeah. And I've also got 540 working girls that are very social media savvy. Some of them with over 100,000 followers. And we're going to use all those tools to work on these rhinos, because I am the rhino hunter. When that commerce tax came out, I gave money to everybody that was running against somebody that voted for that commerce tax, at least the Republicans. Every Republican that voted for that, I gave them money. And how many of them got knocked out?
9 of the 13 in the assembly who voted for the tax hike did not go back.
9 to 13.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that some of the things I did helped out, and I know everybody. Ron, I know you did a great job on it. And you know what? 9 out of 13, that means there's 4 more. And let's focus on it, and let's get them out of here and get them to go back into the private sector wherever they came from, because they lied to us. I don't mind if a Hillary Clinton stands up and says, I'm going to raise your taxes, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to support these social things that you might not like. And if she wins, so be it. I did the best I can. But when you're a Republican and you stand up and say, I'm for smaller government, lower taxes, and then you turn around and do just the opposite, I think all of us have to get more boisterous about this, and not just with the vote. Talk about it. Get out and talk about it. All right, Chuck.
All right, I got to tell our story a little bit more, because I think a lot of you will probably be able to relate to this. So I was working in Wisconsin last week in July, first week in August last year, trying to unseat Paul Ryan in a Republican primary. And I got a call from Ed Goodhart. A lot of you will know Ed Goodhart. He's a good friend of Dennis's, good friend of mine, good friend of taxpayers and
Three-time assembly person.
Yeah. So Ed calls me while I'm in Wisconsin, and he says, "Hey, Chuck, Dennis Hof is running for assembly, and I think he'd really be great, but he needs some help. Would you be interested in working with him?" And I knew that Dennis owned the legal brothel. So I said, well, let me get back to you, because the first call I had to make was to my wife. And I called Gia from Kenosha, and I said, hey, Dennis Hof wants to meet with me. He needs some help with his campaign. Would you have a problem with me working with Dennis? And my wife's response was, will his check clear?
That's a good wife. That's a good wife.
So Dennis and I arranged to meet towards the end of August. We met at Sue Loudon's restaurant out there near the Santa Fe, and we sat down to have dinner. And we hit it off immediately. This guy is fantastic. It just down to earth, great sense of humor, and loved it. And so we decided we were going to work together. Labor Day weekend is when we really kicked things off the ground. The following weekend, Dennis invited me up to Carson City, and I spent the weekend at the Bunny Ranch. He has a great facility, houses in the back of the ranch itself where guests can stay. And my wife gave me permission. It was great. And I tell you, I was supposed to meet you, I think it was Friday morning around noon, and you were delayed. And I was coming in from Lake Tahoe, and I said, okay, I'm going to meet Dennis at noon, and then I get a call saying he's not going to be there. I got to tell you, folks, I had never been in a brothel in my life, and I was scared to death to open up the gate and go up and ring the doorbell if Dennis wasn't going to be there. So I pulled off into the playground area and just parked my car and waited till you texted and said, I'm here, where are you?
That's funny.
And then I felt comfortable, going in. And I'll tell you, after spending just a few minutes with Dennis and the girls there, it was completely different from every preconceived notion that I had, especially the girls. These are not trailer trash girls. They are not stupid. These are some really intelligent women, and you've taught them entrepreneurial skills, literally, with what they're doing there. And it really changed my mind about some
Well, all you got to do is visit it. And I've done that with everybody. Barbara Walters, Diane Sawyer, Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity's been there. There's pictures all over the internet. And I cannot confirm nor deny that Sean Hannity is a customer. Just kidding. He's a great guy and all that. So, the girls, this ain't your daddy's old cat house. These girls, the average girl has a six-figure income. Top earners are making $500,000 a year. And they have companies, they have PR people, they work hard, and they're into the issues. Just like when we did the Hookers for Healthcare, it was a national story. And that's my job as a salesman and a marketing guy, is to get my business's name in the national media. And we're real good at it. We're real good at it. And pardon me? Not all of them. There are some, but about 80% are, which is a high number, I think. Especially, I think in the young crowd, I think that's a high number for girls in the young age demographic, and they some of them do support Trump. Some of them don't know why. Support Hillary. They don't know why, but they did it. But they're smart girls, and they get it. And all they want to do is give back, and they want to have a business that they can operate in a legal environment. Most of our girls never worked illegally. States' rights is a big thing. It's a big, we got to push for more of that. And that's where I think with our people in Washington is we got to push for more states' rights and let Nevada make decisions on their land and the different opportunities that are here. It's very important for us. And Ron, run that up the flagpole, because you know what? I look at those people, and we want states' rights. Nobody knows better than the state of Nevada as how to run the state. Nobody knows better how to run a county than us, the people that live in it, and that's the way it should be. And by the way, that's the reason my business is legal, because in the 1850s, when the miners came to Virginia City and the mining companies, you had 20,000 immigrant miners, and all these guys wanted to do was drink and gamble and be around girls. So the mining companies brought them in And then when we became a state, the state said, no, we're not getting rid of prostitution because it works for us and it always has. The business was tolerated until 1972 when the legislature finally made it legal. And I've spoken about this all over the world. And I'm proud to say I was a Speaker of the Year at Trinity College in Dublin. I spoke at the request of the mayor at the Sorbonne 18 months ago. And 5 years ago, I had the honor of speaking at Oxford University, and where only 6 U.S. presidents have spoken. A little quick story. So when I got back from Oxford, I get an email from Sean Hannity, and he says, "Hey, Big Pimpin'." He says it jokingly, because when we're on TV and he calls me a pimp, then I'm like, "Excuse me, Rupert Murdoch's your pimp," and we argue. we argue a lot. So and we have fun, and it's great TV. But he says, "Hey, Big Pimpin'," he says, this mass murderer, the word is this mass murderer was out buying sex. You got any input on it that you can give me? And so I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Hannity, in the future, I'd like to have you refer to me as Big Pimping and Oxford lecturer." And I'd like to remind you, Mr. Hannity, that neither you nor Bill O'Reilly, that I've been on many times, or Rupert Murdoch has ever or will ever speak at Oxford University. Show me that respect. And it was like 20 lines of LOL, LOL. It was very funny.
We got a couple of minutes. Anybody have any questions from the audience?
A couple of minutes. How are we going to teach Roger Stone how to run a brothel in a couple of minutes here? All right. Any questions? And you know what? Don't be driving home tonight and saying, "I wish I would have asked him this question," because whether it's about politics or the brothel or whatever, I'm an open book, and I'm willing to answer everything. Even if you don't like the answer, I'm going to give it to you. Yes, sir. Yes.
Oh, okay. ESOP, employee stock option.
It's out in the news right now that I own 50%, almost 50% of the brothels in Nevada, and most of them are little country brothels, except for mine and a couple other ones. There's one that's come up for sale. It's been there 35, 40 years, so I've decided. The girls heard about it and said, "Big D, let's do this together. We want to be partners." So I thought, let's put together a partnership and be the first employee-owned brothel. Because if you're an owner, I tell all my employees, starting with my general manager who's been with me 26 years, treat it like you own it, and you will someday. And that's the mentality that the workforce needs to adapt in America rather than getting a paycheck. You know, I'm the guy that signs the front of these paychecks. I know what it takes to make money. Thank you. And so the girls are excited about it. So we may be entering into a venture to have the first employee-owned a brothel in the world.
Henry Ford would have done that, we would not have had the union boss's mentality.
That's right. That's right. Well, we're gonna try it. We
Juanita?
want to. Yeah.
Rebecca.
Can you convince Chuck to have a sign-in for states' rights for candidates like he does for
I did not hear.
Somebody's got to help us. We can't hear it.
Can you convince Chuck to have a sign-up for states' rights for candidates like he has for no taxes?
Oh, like a states' rights protection pledge.
Well, I signed the taxpayer protection taxpayer
Protection pledge.
Yes, Grover Norquist I consider him a friend. I was with him in northern Nevada a couple times in the last 2 weeks, and he's a good guy. And yeah, I'm not about raising taxes. As a businessman, you let me go through the state of Nevada's budget and start whacking stuff and see what happens. You let me get in there. It's ridiculous.
This is kind of a frivolous question, but I've never been to a brothel, and I don't think my husband has, but maybe not. What do they look like? Are they like you see, all
Good question. What's a brothel look like? She's never been to one, and she doesn't think her husband had. Could you tell him to pick up that check he wrote last week when he was there? Just
Didn't
kidding.
bounce, did it?
Just
Didn't
kidding.
bounce, yeah.
Didn't bounce. We didn't put it in.
Oh, okay.
So what is it's imagine a big bed and breakfast, a 35-room bed and breakfast. You walk in, and there's a parlor area, and we do a meet and greet just like you do at a rock concert. Somebody comes in, and the girls come out, and introduce themselves, and then it's like the world's greatest bar. But the odds are real good. The odds are real good. And and then it's just got rooms, and it's got rooms everywhere from queen size, king size, to mini suites, to giant suites, to where the VIPs, the owner of the Lakers has a VIP suite at the Bunny Ranch. We're having in fact, if you're up in northern Nevada, October 7th is our 19th year of the owner of the Lakers and I having a joint birthday party. It's the funnest party in the world, and just get a hold of Chuck or me, and I'll get you on the list because it's a private party. But it's a giant sorority. But instead of the girls going out and getting drunk and fooling around with guys, they stay home and get drunk and fool around with whoever they want to. And they wake up with a bunch of money the next day. What I did that revolutionized the business worldwide is, number one, I took out what they call a lockdown. The girls used to have to commit to a 3-week term, stay there on the property. I said, no way. This is a business. They can come and go as they please. I said, you don't have to party with everybody now. You party with whoever you want to. Because I as an owner, I can't tell somebody to party with somebody they don't want to be with. So don't party with anybody you don't want to. Don't ever do anything you don't want to. And don't ever do it for any less than you think it's worth, because it used to be that the owners controlled the prices. I don't want to control the prices. That's between the girl and the client as an independent contractor. And the motto was incredibly successful. I went in there in 1976, and the night I was there, I met a guy that turned into my good friend. That's Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman and Bob Zamuda, who was his writer at the time. Bob went on to found Comic Relief, raised $90 million for charity with Whoopi and Billy and Robin. He produced the movie Man on the Moon. So I met them there. We became great friends in about '78, because Kaufman could be himself there. And that's what he liked about it. It's depicted in the movie. It's in the book. It's in my book, a lot about Kaufman. And what Kaufman said is, Dennis, you buy this place. You're a small businessman. I owned a bunch of gas stations and garages at the time. And make it. The motto is this: Dennis Hof's world famous. It was Moonlight Ranch. Moonlight, we're going to add bunnies because bunnies are cute. Bunny Ranch, not just sex and adventure. It's about the adventure as much as the sex. And that's what the success of my show and my TV show depicts all that. And if any of you haven't watched it, you can see it online. It's Cat House on HBO, and it was the most popular show on HBO. In fact, one year, the last show of The Sopranos was on, and we followed them on a Sunday night, and not only did their Sopranos audience stay, but our audience came in, and our ratings were actually higher than The Sopranos for that show. It was phenomenal. And by the way, everybody watch The Sopranos? Let me see. Who watched The Sopranos? All right. Well, not as many as I think. Anyway, Sopranos. You remember how it ended? That crazy ending where they're in the restaurant. He walked in, and all of a sudden it went black. What happened is the daughter came in and said, "Dad, Mom, I just got accepted at the Bunny Ranch." I know that because I'm with HBO.
And for the uninitiated, because this threw me off a little bit because I wasn't familiar with the vernacular at the time, the girls said, "Hey, do you want to party?" And I thought party meant let's go to the bar and we'll just have a couple of drinks. So I didn't. Use your imagination what party really means, because I remember when you said that, I said, "Oh, that. No, I can't party. I used to party, but."
Well, Chuck has.
That's what I thought was just drinking.
We changed that when our first show, but I'm going to tell you Chuck's nickname, and I'm going to clean it up.
Okay, clean it up, please.
It's NFC, no fool around Chuck, because the girls will come up and they'll say to another girl, "Who's that guy that's with Dennis? Says he party?" And they say, "No, that's no fool around Chuck." But you replace that with another F word. And
it rhymes with fire truck.
It rhymes with fire truck. And, so Saturday Night Live, I get a call from HBO. Saturday Night Live says, "Well, you're part of Cult America." I said, "Great. How did I do that?" And they said, "Saturday Night Live ripped on you." So it was the Amy Poehler and the other gal and the guy that's on Saturday on the night show, Jimmy Fallon, on the Weekend Update. And party was the terminology we used because we don't want to say sex, we don't want to say the act or anything like that ever in the media and ever at the ranch, because the madam she's more conservative than most everybody in this room, extremely conservative. And she wants the girls to be ladies. And so Saturday Night Live, Weekend Update, and they've got 2 girls on there. My girlfriend at the time was called Sunset Thomas. And so they had a girl named Sunshine Richards or something, and the other girl was Air Force Amy, who was on our show, and so they had another girl on the show, I think it was Amy Poehler, was Coast Guard Carrie. And of course these girls had giant red lipstick, their wigs were kind of turned sideways, and they're on there with Jimmy Fallon talking, and Amy Poehler says, well, he's our anchor person is a virgin. No, I'm not a virgin, Jimmy Fallon. She said, yeah, oh, he's a virgin. She said, what would it cost him to have a party with you? And the girl says, well, it's going to be $10,000 a minute, and just this crazy price. And she says, but I'm going to give him a nose party for the price of an elbow party, and a toe party for the price of an ear party, making fun of the fact that we use party in the show. And so they went back and forth, and finally she reached in her purse and brought the money and said, what can our virgin get for this? $1, $2, like $2.78. Then it switched into 3 hours of great hot sex. So Saturday Night Live's wonderful. And one other thing about Saturday Night Live, last year I went to O'Reilly and I said, look it, and the New York Daily News, I'm going to put out something that we're hiring testers at the Bunny Ranch to test the quality of the experience, just like a restaurant. A restaurant. By the way, I still get 8 or 10 people asking me if they could be testers a week. So we put it out there. And then Saturday, and everybody picked up on it. Today Show, everybody. So that Saturday, here comes Saturday Night Live. And Saturday Night Live, and it's Michael Che, the black guy on Saturday Night Live, who's great. And by the way, when you see that, 14 million people see Saturday Night Live, 10 million watch it, 4 million TiVo it, record it. So it's a big media score for us, because every time they say Bunny Ranch, my cash register rings. And so Michael Che says, the infamous cat house king from Nevada, Dennis Hof, is now hiring testers to test the quality of the experience in the bedrooms. The girls will be graded from F to don't F. It was hilarious.
All right, we got to wrap up. Before we go, I want you to explain. Oh, and by the way, I used to live in Carson City, the whole thing about the Bunny Ranch. So when I was up there, my daughters were 4 and 5 years old, and the one has always been an animal nut. And every time we drive past the Bunny Ranch, it was, Daddy, can we go to see the bunnies? And it was, no, you can't really do that. But to wrap up, tell us, in case they don't know the story, why you might not exactly be looking forward to your birthday this year in light of recent history.
Boy, oh boy, these birthdays, I've had great birthdays all my life. Like I said, this will be our 19th year that the owner of the Lakers, who's my dear friend, and by the way, his father, Jerry Buss, I'm talking about Johnny Buss, and Jerry Buss and I were friends for 40 years. We go back a long ways. So on my birthday, a couple years ago, about 3 days before that, I do another birthday party in southern Nevada. This is in northern Nevada, and it's about 1,000 people, invite only. So Lamar Odom calls, and he says, Dennis, can I come to the party? Yes. He says, I want to come to the one in southern Nevada. Great. I said, Lamar, no drugs. Because I've known Lamar, and his life sadly has been up and down with drugs, which is a terrible epidemic in our country, which we've got to do something about. And I love the fact that Tucker Carlson is pointing the finger at these drug manufacturers. I think it's great, and everybody should, in the abuse of these drugs, because they're in on it. They're in on it, okay, for profit, and that's disgusting. So he said, no problem, no problem. So Lamar gets there, and I'm checking every 12 hours. I get shift reports. Is he eating? Is he sleeping? I want to know, because if he's doing drugs, get out. I mean, I want no part of drugs. And so everything's fine. He gets a call from a buddy, and the Kardashians, I call them the Kartrashians, the Kartrashians ran an episode that made Lamar look bad, and I must have went into his stash, and the next thing you know, they're hauling him out of there in an ambulance. It was nationwide. I did 35 TV shows in 7 days, including the Today Show twice, Good Morning America, Entertainment Tonight 3 times. I was doing it all, trying to protect myself, because the father, who has a drug history, went out and told the story. Those hookers, they drugged my boy. No, your boy's been a drug addict forever. You know it. So that happened.
On your birthday.
On my birthday.
That was a birthday present. Great.
Now, yes. And now a year later, it turned my life in turmoil for 10 days. So the next year, that's the time that the legislature was in session over the Raiders. Chuck came up, NFC comes up to the ranch, and Michelle Fiore is there at my guest house. John Moore, another assemblyman, is there. And so we're strategizing about my campaign, and I didn't go home that night. And I live in a place up on Franktown Road, for those of you from northern Nevada, the most beautiful part of Nevada. I really mean that. Controlled burn by the University of Nevada for the squirrel habitat. Got out of control. They didn't manage it properly. Burned 23 multi-million-dollar homes, including mine, and 2,300 acres of Nevada land. So I think this next year for my birthday, I'm going to hang around with Chuck. I'm going to go to his house for dinner and hang out. So, yeah, my birthday's, but this year's going to be a great one.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Dennis and I get up early in the morning because we're old and we don't have as much time left as these young kids that were up here before. So yeah, it's like 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. We're texting already, and I text Dennis, okay, what time do you want to get together? And he said, well, I have to get back to you. I just found out that my house burned down. Now, I thought he was kidding, but it was true. That was his birthday present when he woke up in the morning, was to find out that the government had burned his house
And
to the
just
ground.
to defend myself and my age, I am 70, but my excuse for getting up in the morning is every morning I'm doing radio on the East Coast at 4:30 in the morning, the Midwest at 5:30, and I work my way across the country and do radio shows every day of my life. So it's not because I'm old, Chuck.
Okay, that's my excuse. That's it. All right, let's hear it for Dennis Hof.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.